my name is Frazier. There's no William at the beginning. There is, but I would rather you know me as Frazier. It's different. I was telling Robert earlier that when I moved to Connecticut after getting out of the Navy, I didn't think there was any Brinleys up here. And sometime after arriving, my parents asked me to take over to the Wadsworth Athenaeum a piece of hair stuff from Catherine Wadsworth. And I said, "Who's Catherine Wadsworth?" And she said, "Oh, just one of our ancestors." So it turned out Catherine is my great-great-great-grandmother. And the Brinleys and Wadsworths and Putnams were all related. The American Legion has had the same purpose or purposes since it was founded in 1919. Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation, National Security, Americanism, and Children and Youth. And today I'm going to be talking about our branch, the department, posts, and district formation. The Connecticut branch. With the close of World War I and the signing of the Armistice Day, the troops were restless and wanting to return home. With morale low, General Pershing got together a number of officers to try to figure out what to do. And someplace while they were doing that, they decided to form an organization of veterans. And it was considered that all veterans of that era of the Great War were considered at the beginning members of this new group. The first caucus was held on March 15th, 1919 in Paris, France, and there were 1,000 soldiers attended. Most were officers. When I was in Indianapolis last month, I'm a judge at the national contest annually, the history contest. I heard a story noting that, yes, that 1,000, most were officers, but one or two were enlisted men and women. And one enlisted guy came late and recognized it was all officers, and they wouldn't let him go, and he was put up in the front seat. Here in Connecticut, Alfred N. Phillips had formed the Army-Navy Association of the World War. Posts were located in Stamford, Bridgeport, and Norwalk, and James Moody, right here in Hartford, had started a group too. When Phillips, Moody, and others heard about the national group being formed, they opted for the American Legion, a group of soldiers, sailors, and Marines all working together in common bond for the betterment of those veterans who were serving at home and across the sea. They wanted jobs, hospital care, financial assistance, and a fair deal for all veterans and their families. Once most of the veterans got home, a second caucus was held on May 8th to 10th in St. Louis, Missouri. They elected officers, formed a charter, adopted a constitution and bylaws, and authorized all the states to come in. Theodore Roosevelt Jr. asked James Moody to be Connecticut's temporary chairman and Alfred Phillips to be the secretary. And on June 10th, 1919, the first Connecticut Temporary Executive Committee meeting was held at the Hartford City Club. They agreed on the following corporation, and I quote, "Be it known that we, the subscribers, do hereby associate ourselves as a body, politic and corporate, pursuant to the statute laws of the state of Connecticut, regulating the formation and organization of corporations without stock, and the following are our articles of association. 1, the name of said corporation shall be the American Legion, Connecticut Branch, Incorporated. 2, the purpose for which said corporation is formed are the following: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism, to preserve the memories and instances of our associations in the Great Wars, to inculcate a sense of individual obligation to the community, state, and nation, to combat the autocracy of both the classes and the masses, to make right the master and might, to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. And for said purposes, said corporation is hereby authorized to build, furnish, equip, etc. Article 3. The said corporation is located in the town of Hartford, in the county of Hartford, and the state of Connecticut. Dated, Hartford, Connecticut, this day, the 10th day of June, 1919. And the subscribers were William Malone from Bristol, P.L. Sansel from New London, M.C. Tilley from Essex, W.D. Kopp, Norwich, James B. Moody, Jr., Hartford, Alfred N. Phillips, Jr., Stanford, Bernard H. Matthews, Seymour, Walter D. Makepeace, Waterbury, James Hurley, Waterbury, Philo C. Calhoun, Bridgeport, Francis W. Carroll, Waterbury. So noted, State of Connecticut, 10 June 1919, County. And it was notarized by Catherine M. Farrell, end quote. On July 27th, the Legion changed the name from branch to department. And just that day is actually stands out in the American Legion here in Connecticut, because on that day we donate 213 acres to the state at Barkhamsted. And today the area is known as the American Legion Forest. So that was the department formation. Posts. The first charter, Post 1, was given to Waterbury after a petition signed by 150 names. Post 2 was given to Bristol, noting that the city had set aside $7,000 to organize a non-military ex-serviceman. Alfred N. Phillips noted his efforts at Stanford and became Post number 3, and applications were received from Norwich 4, Watertown 5, New Britain 6, and others. Posts were given a number when the temporary application was received. Today, the newest post is New Haven Post 210. And somehow, when numbers were assigned, number 186 was missed, and the following numbers were reused, as I actually previously noted. 75, the first Middletown 75, Moosehead 93, 107, 125, and 175. With the initial post foundation and temporary officers in place, a state convention was set up for October 6, 1919. These officers were elected: Commander Philo Calhoun from Bridgeport, two vice commanders, Henry Hurley from Waterbury, and Paul Sampson from New London. Secretary Thomas Bannigan, Hartford Post 8, Treasurer Frank S. Butterworth, New Haven Post 47, Chaplain Henry Cassidy, Hartford Post 8, and 10 additional executive committee members. Others were appointed were historian and sergeant-at-arms. Yes, you might have recognized no service officer. In the first couple of years, that responsibility was taken by the secretary. Districts. Now, this is really evolving. From my viewpoint, not from yours, from my viewpoint. When I wrote the book, I left this out, and in the year after that, I started to figure out the districts. And really thanks to Post 12, who asked me to come down and talk to their post back in June. districts. The Phillips Army and Navy Association group had started work on putting together a legislative agenda. When Phillips and those posts decided to go along with the American Legion group, those legislative ideas and others became a statewide priority for the American Legion. And the following material came from the Connecticut News, Volume 1, Number 12, March 1921. The question one, how does one get the word out? After the first meeting on June 10th, we know that congressional districts were thought to be the answer. Our leaders decided to appoint chairman per organization or county to ensure that state senators and representatives knew our priorities. And the list was Hartford plus Ellington and Rockville, New Haven County plus Clinton, Fairfield County, Tolland and Windham counties, mine is Rockville and Ellington, New London County, Litchfield County, and Middlesex County, mine is Clinton. The legislative priorities increased the state fund, known today as the Soldier, Sailor, and Marine Fund, from $2.5 million to $5 million, and that was House Bill 152. The present amount was inadequate to meet the needs of disabled and sick servicemen. Number 2, Fitch's Home to make accessible to World War veterans. 3, exempt Legion property and disabled veterans and department from taxes, Senate Bill number 71. Provide armor use to the Legion Post, House Bill number 77. Veterans Preference, House Bill 80. All veterans, when fired or reduced to part-time employment, require a hearing, House Bill 82. Unlawfully wearing Legion insignia shall be fined or imprisoned, House Bill 79. Armistice Bill, a bill making the day a legal holiday, Armistice Day, making it a legal holiday in Connecticut. On the evening of March 4, 1921, Justice Fennell, who was the legislative person for the Fairfield County, he was from Stamford Post 3, held a meeting at Stamford's Davenport Hotel, and that hotel actually is still in existence, with 11 out of 15 posts represented. The Fairfield District Executive Committee was organized. The District Legislative Committee, with Chairman Justice Fennell and Keith Warren, Chairman of the New Canaan Post 30, elected to Secretary. The following posts had representatives: South Beach, Stratford, Westport, Fairfield, Norotan Heights, Norwalk, Greenwich, Stamford, and New Canaan. As it turns out, most of those posts are gone today. It was voted that regular monthly meetings of this committee would be held for the purpose of a general discussion of various problems and activities of the post within the district, try to suggest measures and recommendations to promote the best interests of the Legion in Fairfield County. Each post was represented by one or more delegate. Each post had one vote regardless of the delegates present, and to defray the cost, they requested a contribution of $1 per month from each post. This was more than just a legislative committee, and since a baseball committee was appointed to possibly start a county Legion baseball league, and the chairman was Albert Hughes of Greenwich. The next meeting was called for Tuesday, March 15th, 1921, an agenda appointment of a district legislative committee and continued discussions on post problems. By 1922, Fairfield County had a county chairman in Justice Fennell and a secretary in Ed Barlow. As noted, this formation was recorded and published in the Connecticut News on March 21. It was mailed to every Connecticut member, every Legionnaire. The news article pointed other districts in the right direction on their legislative agenda and district future. The State Executive Committee minutes of November 4, 1922, it was voted to appoint 7-member redistricting committee with Albert Hughes from Greenwich as chair. The Norwalk Post 12 newsletter, the Barracks Bag, Volume 1, Number 7, October 15, 1923, reported on the 5th Annual Department Convention. September 13, 14, 15, 1923, held in New Britain. Page 2, and I quote, following the Friday afternoon session, the Fairfield County delegates held a caucus to elect officers for the county organization. Those elected were Chairman Edward Barlow, Secretary Treasurer Albert Hughes, Historian William McNulty of Bridgeport, and Americanist Chairman Donald Crawford of Westport. An executive committee, Albert Hughes again, and Leroy Downs, delegate, Lewis Garrison of Danbury, and alternate Ed Barlow to the National Convention. End quote. On Saturday morning, page 3, and I quote, Colonel Dorsey of New London introduced a resolution would give the district chairman the right to attend and take part in discussions at state executive committee meetings, but without a vote. It did not pass. 7 months earlier, Norwalk Post 12, on their second newsletter, noted that on the evening of April 7th, 1923, the first ever annual banquet of the Fairfield County organization was held with about 200 Legionnaires attending at Stanford's Davenport Hotel, honoring, yes, Justice Fennell. March 8, 1924, State Executive Committee minutes noted that district chairman and secretary names be changed to commander and adjutant. The September 6, 1924 state meeting minutes recognized district commander from the 1st District, L.W. Ladd from Hartford. Now, that's our foundation. And there's way more I could talk about. But guess what? My hat and this uniform. Robert asked me to bring this in. I'm in North Haven Post 76 tonight, and we were going to talk about this and my hat. So this uniform was given to me by Victor Merrick. He was the vice commander or district commander from Middlesex County in 5051, and he told me that he received it from another Legionnaire. So it's got the 3 stars on it, means that he's a vice commander. If it had 4, he would have been a department commander. I don't know what national commander, I don't remember what the national commander would have gone. Maybe it would have been another strike. So I expect this is, if it's not World War I, it's close to it. And the pants would go, and in many departments, in many states across our Legion, and we have 55 departments, this is actually still the required uniform. Connecticut decided to change it and basically have what I wore plus gray pants. But I think in the process they're talking about changing that again and going to khaki pants, which I kind of like because then it really talks about my hat and why this hat is so different to every other state. Every other state is a solid blue hat. I have one someplace, probably at the Post meeting location, and I belong to the Westbrook American Legion, Post 103, although I live in Clinton. This hat, back when the doughboys got back from the Great War, Massachusetts had come up with a cap that was solid dark blue, and they decided on that paint. Connecticut decided, since khaki was the uniform going back to the Revolution, and it was the World War uniform for most of the people overseas, decided to add the buff top. And I have drawn in my own history into this. In the regulations, it specifically talked about this buff as a colonial buff, and when you talk about the uniform, which I did not go into, I thought it, but I didn't go into it, it specifically says this is colonial buff, which makes me think that it went back to the Revolution here in Connecticut. I have not found anything concrete of any of it. Most people say, no, that's strictly a World War. You hear me say not one, but it's really that first war, the war to end all wars uniform. And but why would they put the word colonial in front? So, and the blue is normal. So in most caps, for instance, as I said, I actually belong to the Westbrook Legion, and on one side it has that, and they won't allow us to put anything on this side. And over here is the original hat was solid blue, dark blue, and when they added the buff top in around 1927, 28, that changed everything.